Hi there, gang. It's good to see you. I want to do a bit of an extended briefing today because for more than a week, if you followed us on social media, you've probably seen we've been posting left and right about the period from May 14th through like the 22nd, 23rd. And now that period is finally here. I'm forecasting several severe weather outbreaks, perhaps significant outbreaks, for anyone from the plains to the upper Midwest to the Ohio, Tennessee valleys, the Mid-South, even the Mid-Atlantic. A lot of folks are at play for these events. I anticipate several days of decent tornado potential and perhaps a couple EF2 plus tornadoes, so significant tornadoes are likely with some of these storms. It's going to be a long stretch, so let's talk about it. Starting off with what's been going on lately, we've had very little in the way of severe weather over the central U.S., really for the past week and a half, 2 weeks, since the start of May. May is climatologically the peak of tornado season, and it's been virtually silent. We've had one significant tornado all month long, and it was in Florida. And part of the reason for that is this cutoff low, this pocket of cold air, low pressure, and spin that was sitting over like the lower Mississippi Valley, and it was spinning counterclockwise. So on the backside, it was just pulling down dry air over parts of, the central U.S. And because it was a cutoff low, pinched off in the jet stream, there was nothing to scoop it along, so the weather hasn't really changed much. But if we take a look at satellite right now, the key thing I want you to notice is that this upper level low, this stalled cutoff low, is finally beginning to move towards like Washington, D.C., the Mid-Atlantic, and then finally out to sea. And so it unclogs the weather pattern and new systems can come in, like this swirl over the Pacific Northwest. If you take a look here, you see here's our next big system. That'll be our big severe weather maker. Over the next few days, that upper level bowling ball is going to consolidate and swing south over the Rockies, and it'll do a couple things. Number one, it kinks the jet stream south. This jet stream dip is something we call a trough, and that's key. And number two, within that trough, cold air from Canada spills south over the Rockies. Now, ahead of our trough over the plains, it'll be warm, it'll be humid. We have southerly flow that will be increasing, and so we're literally pulling north Gulf moisture. And so there's going to be a battleground, cold air against warm, moist air, and that clash is going to brew repeated rounds of storms. And what's going to happen is that every few days, little lobes of low pressure and spin and cold air will break off from this trough and sort of eject east over the plains and the upper Midwest, and each of those will kick up the warmth and moisture ahead of them and generate storms, likely strong to severe. Weather models are pretty bullish in suggesting a widespread area at risk for severe storms over the next 7 days. A lot of folks, again, are involved. So let's break down the daily details. On Wednesday, our risk area is mainly north-central Nebraska, central South Dakota, and then central eastern North Dakota, mainly folks near and west of Interstate 29. Now, our upper-level bowling ball is just starting to nudge in, just barely getting there. And I gotta say, surface dew points, the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, kind of meager. We're talking upper 50s to around 60. A little, meh for big severe weather. So sure, storms will form along a cold front, but I think they'll be higher based, meaning cloud base is higher above the ground, so much lesser tornado threat. They'll probably be primarily wind producers, maybe some small hail. I think things will crop up around 3, 4, 5 p.m. They'll increase in both aerial coverage and intensity through about sunset, and then they'll work east towards Interstate 29. There's a chance that if there's enough moisture left behind, we might see a second batch try to develop over like central Nebraska, south central South Dakota. Not so on that quite yet. Then we turn our attention to Thursday. That's a potentially more significant day. We have robust moisture streaming northwards. We're talking dew points like upper 60s to around 70. It's going to feel like mid to late June, maybe even early July out there. And all that juice lends itself to instability or thunderstorm fuel, and we have moderate to high instability. That's concerning. Moreover, the jet stream is just screaming overhead, a lot of wind energy to work with. And so we just have a primed environment for rotating supercells, a big overlap between juice and spin. And if any storms can fire in this environment, they will likely be rotating supercells capable of producing damaging winds, hail, tornadoes, all severe hazards. But there's a catch. The atmosphere has something called a cap, or a capping inversion. Basically, it's a lid of warm air about a mile above the ground that suppresses thunderstorm growth, because surface air can't rise if it bumps into that warm air, and so you get no storms. I think that cap will likely be thickest in like Illinois, Indiana, so lesser storm chance there. Farther north, a better chance of breaking the cap. So again, Wisconsin, Northern Illinois, you're much more likely to break the cap and you will see strong to severe storms. It's unclear right now how long they'll stay as rotating supercells, alone, discrete, and isolated. They may form an arcing line of supercells with damaging winds and tornadoes. They may merge into a squall line with a lesser tornado threat and more damaging winds. Unclear. Farther south, Illinois, or central Illinois, Indiana, northwest Ohio. I'm not sure about you guys. If you do pop something, it will be later in the period, perhaps into the overnight. All told, I may target extreme southern Wisconsin or very far northern Illinois. That's where I think the best chance of a couple rotating supercells are, kind of at the south end of any squall line that forms, but far enough north that we don't have to worry as much about the cap. Still not sure exactly how long they'll remain discrete before merging, and moreover, as they move closer to Lake Michigan, they might feel the cooler air thanks to the cooler waters and weaken a little bit, so unsure there. Chicago still should very much be on guard. Regardless, machine learning models are highlighting a potentially significant event. Then, the fun continues into Friday, and once again, machine learning models are pretty bullish about this in Kentucky and Tennessee in particular. We'll probably have a front draped somewhere across the region west to east, and I think we have one or more storm complexes that form along the front, surf the jet stream eastwards, and they'll probably grab some jet stream energy and mix down winds in the form of, 60+ mile/hour gusts at the surface. Then Saturday, I think the machine learning models are a little bit too bullish on there being too widespread of an area. Sure, Friday, Saturday, maybe the Carolinas, maybe DC, maybe the Mid-Atlantic get involved, but I still think the Saturday threat is shown to be too large here. Now, by Saturday, our front is sagged even farther south, squashing the instability, the juice, to the southern plains, the Ozarks, maybe the Mid-South. The European model does light up the Ozarks and the southern plains, Texas, Oklahoma, with lightning strikes, and I tend to agree. So I think if there are any storms, it'll be this area here. But then the crescendo comes Sunday through Tuesday. That's when the most severe weather is likely. It's when we have our next upper-level bowling ball approach. It's when we have the jet stream winds screaming overhead for days on end. I mean, look at that. The jet stream is just, for lack of a better word, it's screaming overhead. It's just roaring up there, a ton of wind energy. And then we have something called a dry line, which is a clash between bone-dry desert air west and moisture-rich Gulf air east. And it's really going to sharpen right along the Interstate 35 corridor. So Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, North Texas, Dallas to Gainesville to Lawton, Fort Sill, Wichita Falls, Oklahoma City, Wichita itself, Salina, Great Bend, the Interstate 70, Interstate 80 corridors up to Lincoln and Omaha. All y'all really need to watch this. Repeated rounds of supercells possible with a tornado threat. I'm definitely concerned about that one. So again, a lot of details to iron out. We'll have daily videos too. I know this was a longer briefing, but there's so much to get through. I'll be chasing all of it, and we'll have nonstop details in the MyRadar app as well.
Follow MyRadar on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Download MyRadar on iOS, Android, Amazon Alexa, and Windows.